So, I guess do a little introduction,
Okay.
your name and your business, and kind of what you're up to here in the Valley.
Okay, I'm Jeff Kraus. I'm the chef owner of Truckin Good Food. It's a Parisian-style street food truck. We're the first in Phoenix to have a full-scale, upscale lunch truck, and we're looking at changing how people look at street food. So we make a lot of stuff from scratch. We use local purveyors for honeys, for produce, and other ingredients.
Cool. So yeah, it seems like you guys are really focused on really high integrity ingredients, and everything you're doing is very high quality. Has it been hard for you to kind of bring that level of quality to a street food setting?
Well, I don't really think it's hard for me to incorporate that into my menu because I do it that's how I eat. The hardest thing is really finding enough of it to handle the kind of volume that we have. So, there's times, and you probably have seen it, where we sell out because we don't mass produce anything. You know what I mean? So that's been the only challenge. It's not really been a challenge to incorporate those, local ingredients into the mix. It's just getting enough of it.
Yeah. So, how many events are you doing right now? I know the summer is kind of slower for you, but kind of, as we can see you're regrouping here,
right?
reevaluating your approach for
Yeah.
the next coming fall season. So, what are your plans, in the rest of the summer, the coming fall?
Well, the rest of the summer we're staying true to our Parisian theme, so we're on holiday. So we're doing basically a cleanup to the truck. To be prepared for the middle of September, late September. We're gonna have a full run. We're gonna run Wednesday through Sunday. We're gonna be downtown Phoenix, Scottsdale, Ahwatukee, Tempe. So we're gonna have a full run. In addition to doing our private events and our parties. So it's nuts. So right now we're focusing on this, and I'm tweaking the menu around a little bit, getting ready for the seasonal menu items, which will be a lot of fall fun produce. So yeah.
That's awesome. So I saw a recent email from you. You're entered into a Food Network contest. Can you say a little bit about that and what people could do if they want to support you, vote for you, where you could direct them for that?
This is actually pretty exciting. I think it's going to bring a lot of awareness to what we're trying to do in the city, and that's create a better awareness on street food. So we were nominated, and right now the voting started a couple of days ago, and it goes until September 10th. And you can go to my website, truckingoodfood.com, or my Facebook page, and there's a link to vote for us on the Food Network site, which is pretty cool because it gives us, gives a little detail about us and our truck, and it's pretty amazing. I think it's a huge step to bring Phoenix street food to life. So
yeah, that's awesome. So is this a regional contest, or this is just like Arizona-based companies, or it's going to be like larger scale national?
Yeah, it's national wide. So they have
awesome.
271 trucks, and I don't really know how the nominations work. I don't know who puts that on, but we got an email from Food Network asking us if we wanted to accept our nomination, and I thought it was a complete joke. Here I'm getting this little sticker, decal or whatever, saying, hey, you guys are up for nominations. And it's huge. We're up against a lot of big trucks that have been in the business a lot longer than we have, but I think with Phoenix not having anything like this, I think we might have a good chance.
I think you guys are the wild card.
I know, right?
All you Phoenix peeps, come on and support Jeff.
I know.
Awesome. So getting back to honey. Kind of the products we sell through the Health Foodie. Where do you see, I know you sell crepes, that's one of your big items. How do you see honey enhancing what you're doing as opposed to other sweeteners? Like, where do you see honey fitting into the overall culinary spectrum, or where have you seen it kind of evolve into? Because you're, very involved in the culinary world.
Well, honey, especially with your honey, it's raw, it's unrefined. And for me personally, I love to incorporate honey into the menu for both savories and sweets. For me, it's almost like a driving sweet flavor, so I can add it to anything to add that sweetness to the dish to just make it all balanced. So for me personally, especially with you guys having a variety of honeys, I find it to be, for my purpose, I can create more of an authenticity of French style crepes, which your buckwheat is a perfect example. So yeah, I love it. It's a much better sweetener for me than it is, using a table sugar to sweeten those dishes.
So yeah, I was interested by that buckwheat. So that's a traditional French, I mean, is it precisely the buckwheat, or it's like a darker honey? They actually have a buckwheat varietal in France as well?
It's a buckwheat honey in Britain, and they use it on, and they use it for their buckwheat crepes, and they usually combine it with like a fresh goat cheese. And it's delightful. It's super simple, but you have the tones of being savory. There's some tang there, and then you have the sweetness, and the buckwheat being super dark. It adds a completely different level of complexity to the mix. And I put it on the menu today on the website. So
that's awesome.
That's going to be one of the fall specialties. So
very cool. So with a single varietal, you can really tailor dishes. I mean, you can enhance, bring out, or accentuate certain flavors more so than a honey you would buy in the supermarket. Like, where do you see the single varietal honeys fitting into the spectrum, whereas the store-bought honeys that are kind of just generic wildflower honeys, they're multiple blends of different nectars. Like, where do you see the characteristics really coming forth, and how those honeys are really special in contrast to something someone could find in a supermarket?
Well, they have their own characters, so they have their own personality, and they're a lot less complex to work with because you know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? So working with a single variety allows you to be more creative with that particular flavor or variety. So yeah, it gives you more flexibility to be more creative. You're not limited to combining like a 2 or 3 varietals into one dish and have like the flavor profile kind of all over the map. The single stuff lets you kind of hone in on that particular element of a dish, whether it's savory or sweet.
Yeah. So we're talking about more unique, perhaps radical uses of honey, something that is not traditionally done. And Jeff was talking about something pretty interesting. So
yeah, I took one of the thicker honeys, and it might have been the sage, because that's pretty thick, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Really heavy mouthfeel, and I was making a parfait, and what I ended up doing, because I didn't want to take away that vanilla note, the aromatics of the actual honey, I put olive oil in and I heated it up to increase the viscosity, and I made a parfait and I drizzled that in with like fresh fruit, a Greek yogurt, and granola. So you had both the savory and the sweet notes, but it was extremely aromatic with the fruity notes of the olive oil, and then the vanilla and the deep complex aroma from the sage honey.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was actually really good.
So if someone did that at home, just kind of mix equal ratios of olive oil to honey, or would you want to have more honey than olive oil? If you just kind of would you heat that in a little kind of skillet or a saucier?
Yeah. And it's really on taste, you know what I mean, depending on how your olive oil is. Like we use an extra virgin olive oil, and it was fruity and peppery all at the same time, and the honey itself it had deep notes of like vanilla. It was pretty complex, had a heavy mouthfeel, so I was just looking for a balancing flavor to get the sweetness incorporated in there, but not lose the natural aroma characteristics of both the olive oil and the honey. But I think it would just be a matter of taste and texture, because one thing that I find with honey being so thick, it doesn't really, you could use it in dressings or whatever, marinades, whatever, but when it's thick like this, if you don't have it at a higher viscosity, it doesn't incorporate itself into the actual dish. So you have to increase it somehow, whether it's
That's a really good thing to note, because if you use it in those kind of applications, if you just pour cold raw honey into it, it may not incorporate the same way.
So you get one big mouthful of honey, and maybe
which is probably delightful for that one.
right. If that's the case, I just eat it out of the jar.
Very true.
But
kind of defeat the purpose of putting it in.
Yeah. Food, and honey's so versatile, because you can manipulate the viscosity, which I like. And you brought up a point about using it on a meat, and traditionally honey has been around for however long. It's one of those things where it's like made for the gods. It's like a royalty kind of thing, and putting it on meats back then when meats were rancid, it was a way to cover and mask the meat. You know what I mean? But